everybody, we're back again. This is another look at the 2000s. This time we're going to look at sleeper films, the films that maybe don't get as much love and respect as they should. They're not necessarily huge box office hits, but we want to encourage people to see them because they're either personal favorites of ours or just excellent movies in general. So we're here with Brian, AYBL Maine. Brian's got a channel on YouTube. He's doing top 5 albums since he was born from 69 on. He's also doing songs, and check him out, sub his channel. We've got Trey here, who's him and his dad do reactions to the classics, a channel that's been going on for 2 years now. They're doing album reviews, reactions, song battles, you name it. They have a Twitch listening party Thursday nights, different albums, and that is a fun time. So anybody that hasn't gotten on board with that, I encourage you to get a Twitch app, check them out Thursdays, 7 o'clock, is it, Trey, on Thursday nights Eastern time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got, I know it won't, will have already been done, but Revolver coming up, going through the Beatles whole,
Right.
Dark Side of the Moon coming up as well. So it's fun
Great.
time.
Absolutely. And Doc is here, our movie regular from Canada. Love to have him. Doc, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Rich. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Great to have all you guys here. So we're going to start in our same order. Trey, this is Sleepers. We're going to go 5 through 1, and you're up first.
All right. Well, number 5, I got a holiday, Christmas-based film. Just saw it for the first time this past Christmas, actually. It's called The Family Stone, and it works well as not only as a holiday movie, but the family dynamics and the drama. Within there, and it's got a pretty stellar cast. You got Claire Danes, Diane Keaton's in there, Craig T. Nelson, who is able to pull off, kind of that fatherly figure well. I thought he did a fantastic job, and I was just I was pretty impressed to see just how that family dynamic worked out, and it was entertaining, man. It was entertaining. Number 4, I'm going with Rachel Getting Married, which came out in 2008, directed by Jonathan Demme, the same guy that did Silence of the Lambs, and you have no idea if you watch this. This one really hits close to home. Just you have Anne Hathaway playing somebody who's dealing with substance abuse, mental health issues, and being in the mental health field myself, I just really connect with those types of films, and kind of figuring out, okay, why is this person the way they are? And as the movie gets going along, her sister Rachel is getting married, if you couldn't figure out from the title. having to kind of deal with that, like seeing where she's at in her life compared to her sister and everyone else. And then you figure out, kind of as the movie goes along, there was a big tragedy that happened with her brother, and some real touching moments in there. And yet again, that kind of family aspect there to pick you up when you're down is something I appreciate. Number 3 is a film I watched twice in the same weekend. I watched it once by myself, and then I told my dad and sister, we got to watch this. It's a documentary called Grizzly Man, detailing out this guy named Timothy Treadwell, he's a character, man. I'll tell you what. This dude lived in Alaska, literally amongst grizzly bears, and unfortunately, he ended up dying by a grizzly bear attack. And so you have that, what's going. You have Werner Herzog. I butchered his name, but famous documentarian in here, and kind of talking with people that were close to Timothy, trying to get to the heart. Why did this guy go into the woods and do this? And yet he survived for all those years, close to the foxes and the bears and whatnot. Yet again, an interesting case study, and pretty enthralling from start to finish if you haven't seen it.
Great movie.
Number 2, I'm gonna go with this film called Doubt, which is one of the best acted movies, I think, of the decade. It's based off of a stage play, actually. So, it has that type of feel to it. You got my guy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, in here. You have Meryl
Right.
Streep. You have Amy Adams in one of her best performances. I think Viola Davis is in here as well.
Yep.
I think almost all of them got nominated that year at the Oscars for Best Actor or Actress or Supporting. And as somebody that grew up in the church and whatnot, and seeing some of the dark side of that, it touches into this. Set in the '60s. Meryl Streep's kind of a bit trepidatious about Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, who kind of touching with misconduct with students and whatnot. And the dialogue here is just so fantastic. And all these performances are dynamite, and a tough watch for sure at times, but one well worth it, I think, if you haven't seen it. And then number one, I'm gonna kind of continue in with the tougher type of stories in here. This is a film that really blew me away. It doesn't have a ton of critical acclaim, but it's an Australian movie featuring Heath Ledger. It's called Candy. Follows this guy who's kind of an artsy type of dude. He falls in love with an art student, and then they get down the road to drugs. Eventually, that leads to heroin, and then just the fallouts obviously that has on your life and family, and just that self-destruction, again getting into the mental issues of a little bit. And it's one, I don't even know how I came across it. I think it was one of those where you're on Amazon, clicking one thing, and then you at the bottom more like this, and you look, you're like, oh, I see Heath Ledger's in it, I like him.
Off I go.
Let's check it out. So I suggest that as well, kind of in that heavier type of vein. But those are my sleepers of the decade, and ones that spoke to me.
Very good. Who was the actress? Abby somebody in that? She's very good.
Yeah, Abby Cornish.
Abby Cornish. That's a good movie. I liked it too. It's sort of definitely a sleeper. If anything's a sleeper. And Grizzly Man. Oh my goodness. What a pick that was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one where I literally, after I watched it, I told my dad and sister, I was all like, I know what we're watching tonight. This film, it's
How about
wild.
when Werner Herzog listens back to the audio and he can't even play it live.
No,
He's hearing it on an earpiece of how this man died.
Mm.
And then when they open up the bear later, the only thing they find in him is his watch, I think.
I think so. Yeah, it's just a brutal,
just gruesome stuff, man.
My God.
Yeah, he tells the woman, don't ever listen to this.
Don't ever listen to this. Right. A great movie, though. It's really well made, because you see him in the beginning where he's going up to these bears and talking and petting them and stuff, and they love him, and then one of them turns on him. It's unbelievable. So great list.
Very good.
Very good. Doc, what do we have for us today?
Mine are not near a sleeper as much as Trey's are.
That's fine.
Sleeper title, shall we say? Mine, I just think, are more movies that were out there that I just don't think get enough love.
That's what it's about.
I would say things.
Yeah.
We've heard the names, but probably passed on them or forgot about them, or maybe should check them out and haven't done it. I don't know. Something along those lines is what I think. But my number 5 is going to be the Requiem for a Dream. So it's I think it gets past too much is probably what I'm trying to say here. This is a depressing story about a depressing subject, and the acting is fantastic in this flick, and it's really well done. It just shows you the crappy side of life with drugs, and how what a hole you can get into here, man. This is Ellen Bernstein in this movie is fantastic, and I think that's probably, there's a lot of characters go through a lot of crap in this movie, but hers is probably the most depressing to me, in the sense that she's having the girls' day and lunches and stuff like this. Everything's fine, and then before you know it, she's taking some pills, and before you know it, man, it's just gone to she's gone the way of the dodo, really, on how this thing actually unfolds. And the hole that she goes down is just absolutely disgusting and heartbreaking, and everything else that goes with it. It's just maybe not much of a sleeper flick, but I mean, it's a really good movie that deserves to be seen, I think. And that'll probably be the bulk of my list here anyway. That's what I think. That's my number 5. My number 4 is The History of Violence.
Ooh, good one.
Yes.
Viggo
That's a good
Mortensen.
movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Good graphic novel.
Yeah, it's Ed Harris here. William Hurt actually got nominated for an Oscar for this as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this actually, I think that portrayal, I think for William getting nominated for an Oscar is the shortest amount of screen time for somebody to get nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah,
I
he
think
wasn't
he's
in it
on the
much.
screen for like 8 minutes or something like that. Basically, I think it's just one scene with him and his brother Viggo
Yeah,
in this movie.
yeah.
So just a neat little story about some guy who was trying to get out of something and move on with his life, and basically have a different identity as he moves along. And it's the past comes back and bites him, and he has to face it. And you don't want to say too much about some of these movies here, but it's a great story. It's well done, and The History of Violence is a sleeper pick for sure, I guess, because
It is.
It should
It
be
is.
watched. It's a really good flick,
Yeah.
really good movie.
Yep.
My number 3 is going to be Hotel Rwanda.
Good. Yep.
This is a Don Cheadle movie. This is sad too, man. I mean, none of these are going to be. Don't take your date to these ones. There's a whole bunch of things going on here in Somalia, militia and stuff like this. And Don Cheadle's character basically at the Hotel Rwanda is basically doing everything he can to save people's lives. And people compare it to different things and different movies, even like as a Schindler kind of thing of what's going on and how he's saving lives and what he's doing. He saved over 1,000 lives down there just because of corruption and politics and everything else. And the UN, and there's actually the Canadian Guard in there trying to get him out and stuff like this. But I mean, it's a powerful, sad, real story that had no coverage really even in first world nations on what is actually going on over there at the time. There's a whole bunch of people getting murdered. Loads. It's basically genocide that's happening here, and it's right under his nose, and this is what he's doing to change it. So it's quite the heroic effort on his side, and I think it's definitely a movie that this was up for some accolades and stuff like this, and it should have been. It's a really well done movie.
Very good.
My number 2 is 21 Grams.
I'm so glad you picked that.
Yes.
I forgot about it.
Yeah, it's a great flick, man.
Yeah.
This is, I guess I'll give Quentin some credit here. Quentin Tarantino some credit, I think, in one sense, because he's the one who really kind of started the different stories going on throughout a movie with different people, and you focused on that for like 10 minutes. And then before you know it, you're focusing on this for here's another person or another actor, another character.
Yeah,
and how they all intertwine.
Yeah.
Non-linear. That's exactly right.
Yeah, basically. And he's the one who started this whole thing really with the pulp and the Reservoir Dogs and stuff like that, where you actually saw it on mainstream movies and stuff like this. And 21 Grams and some other movies throughout the early 2000s, I find more or less in that area anyway, did a lot of this kind of thing. And it's done really well. And Naomi Watts and Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro and how they all intertwine that story, that niche, and how it affects all their lives individually and together at the same time. It's a great story, a different kind of story. You don't see too much about people needing hurt and stuff like this in the story either. So I think it's a pretty good sleeper little pick, actually, if you want the truth. So 21 Grams is a great flick, and it's overlooked a lot. But my sleeper pick for my number 1 is The House of Sand and Fog. Actually.
Oh, baby. Another good one. Yep.
This is another depressing story. I don't know a lot of this going on at the time, but Ben Kingsley is fantastic in this movie, man. And the story, and Jennifer Connelly's really good in this movie as well. A story about somebody getting who thinks they own a house, and the city or the county says you don't own it anymore after Jennifer Connelly goes through these different things, and she thinks she's going to live there for the rest of her life, and it's already paid for, and it turns out it's registered under a business, and there's a whole bunch of different other things, and the county's taking it, put up to auction, and Ben Kingsley, who's trying to he's a war kind of guy from back home, who's trying to just hide and start a whole new life in North America, living the high life and changing it and getting on with his life, thinks he's got himself a deal. It's such a sad story for to be based on a house. Actually, it's really, and it's character driven. It's a sad story, but definitely my sleeper pick of the 2000s. It has to be watched.
All 5 of them are great films. Every single
Thank you.
one of them. And I know I'm a movie guy. I keep my own list of top 10 movies every year. All 5 of them are on the individual list
very
of the year
cool.
they came out.
Nice.
So I recommend all 5 of those movies highly.
Very good.
Brian,
Thanks,
what do
buddy.
you have on your list today?
For sleeper picks, I've got at number 5, I've got my second favorite Spike Lee movie, even though it didn't really get a whole lot of love, was 25th Hour.
Yes.
Has Ed Norton, who is on his way to the penitentiary for drug possession and dealing. And it's about that 24-hour period that last day of his freedom that he spends with his friends and his girlfriend, and actually the criminal organization that he works for and everything else, like going to meet with them. Basically, them wanting some reassurance that he wasn't going to narc on them, and at the same time also exposing to him which one of his friends actually ratted him out to send him to jail in the first place.
Right.
It's extremely well acted in it. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it as well.
Barry Pepper.
Yeah, Barry Pepper's in it as one of his friends. It's is Rosario Dawson his girlfriend?
Yeah, Brian Cox, his father.
Brian Cox is his father. Man, it's just a really well acted, and it just doesn't get a whole lot of love for some reason.
It's a great movie.
I just never see it when people list Spike Lee movies. They just never list this movie, and I just think it's a shame. It happened post 9/11, so a lot of the shots are of the things the buildings that had collapsed and everything during 9/11. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. It's definitely worth it. Number 4 for me is The Last King of Scotland.
Oh yeah,
this one's got Forrest Whitaker in it as playing Idi Amin, who takes James McAvoy under his wing. He's like a doctor who's supposed to be there for like relief of the poor people in the country, and ends up being his personal physician, and about the craziness that goes on and the crazy things that Amin would do to stay in power, horrific things. Definitely worth a watch if you're into biopic picks at all. It's a little over dramatized in some places, but it's pretty accurate otherwise. And Forrest Whitaker does a bang up job. That's probably his best role I can think of off the top.
Did he win the Oscar for that, Brian?
Yeah, he won.
He did. Yeah. It's just a great job on that.
Yep.
Number 3 is a movie. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. I tell you that I've only watched it once. It's a powerful film. It's Gaspar Noé's Irreversible.
Oh my God. That is the most powerful, explicit movie I have ever seen in my life.
I watched that movie, and I don't know how anybody could ever go back and watch that movie again for the 9-minute rape scene that's in it.
The rape scene is like so realistic and so brutal.
What broke my heart the most in it is when she was being raped and an individual had walked into the shot, a bystander who had come upon the rape, and that person turned around and walked away. All that's going on, and I'm sitting there going, how horrifying is this? The camera angle that they shot it at, she was reaching for the camera the entire time that it was going on. It was it's filmed non-sequentially, non-linearly, so you end up having to watch the whole movie to understand what's going on. It's okay for a one-time watch, but I can't see anybody going back to it. But I mean, it's something I think everybody should watch. I think everybody should watch at least once. It's like The Passion. Yeah, you watch it once and you're all set after that. But it's one of those movies you're going to have to watch. I think. Yeah, it's really tough. Number 2 for me is Donnie Darko, kind of the cult film with Jake Gyllenhaal, who little does he know is he actually has the ability to see what his coming future is going to be, and he only gets it in bits and pieces in this very surreal fashion with this crazy rabbit head that figure, and he can actually see time flowing in his space and everything. It's very surreal, very dark, but it's one of those movies you should definitely watch at least once, so that you say that you've seen Donnie Darko. Soundtrack's great, the music's great in it, acting's very good in it, so definitely check that out. And finally, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen this one. It's a French film I don't know how to pronounce the French title off the top of my head, but it's called Brotherhood of the Wolf. I don't know if you guys
I've
have
not
ever
seen that.
No.
Not seen that? Yeah, you definitely should see that. It's about two guys that are sent from the King of France to investigate a series of murders that are happening in a small town. It's there's like a French detective, and then he has this manservant that comes with him who's like this I can't even remember the guy's name. He's like a well-known mixed martial artist who's like his sidekick, who basically goes in, just kicks everybody's ass every once in a while to keep everybody in line, that type of thing. But a lot of surreal, horrific elements to it. There's some sacrifice that's going on in the community, some weird sexual deviant things that are going on.
Ooh.
So, and then of course these guys got to start peeling back those layers in a small community, and you know how that goes. Is like there's going to be a ton of resistance because not everybody wants their dirty laundry, aired out in order to solve murders. So if you get a chance, though, that's my sleeper pick. Not a lot of people have heard about it. Brotherhood of the Wolf. You should definitely check it out.
I've seen the title, but I've not seen the movie, so I have to check that out. I want to talk on Irreversible for a minute because I saw this movie years ago, and actually, I was very affected by it. I bought it on DVD, but I've yet to watch it since. I can't put myself through that experience again, even though I realized the brilliance of the filmmaking, because he starts with a violent act in the beginning of the film, and then they show you in reverse order what leads to that violent act. Something happened to bring you. You're saying, why is this guy so violent? Why is he so enraged? And what did this guy deserve?
Yeah,
the consequence that was put upon him. And it's so graphic. I don't know how they did it. They must have done it with models, of clay models of heads, but he just literally bashes this guy's head in, literally. And you're going, my God, what happened? And then they show you a relationship. And then I don't want to give the whole thing away, but the rape is the key scene.
Yeah.
And I never saw anything like it in my life. I don't think I can watch it. But for some reason, I was afraid that if I didn't buy it on DVD, it wouldn't show up anywhere because it's so brutal and so graphic. It's not going to be on HBO. There's no way they're going to show that.
They wouldn't allow it in American theaters. It only went to DVD. There's no way they could allow it in American theaters. It was awful.
It's a brilliant film with a horrible subject matter. But I'm glad you listed it because it should be seen, like you said. And I think if people watch it, maybe they'll consider that kind of rape as a capital offense and put people down that do something like that, because you should not get a second chance. I'm sorry, that was just brutal and so well depicted on screen. And in fact, I think they were able to make it so realistic because the villain in the movie and the woman were husband and wife in real life. So they were able to graphically show that with the understanding this is going to be a little rough, but it's tough.
I forget. I'm trying to remember Monica Bellucci's husband's name, but she said that when she went to see him after the scene was finally done, that he was back in his trailer crying because of the emotional turmoil that he went through to even be a villain in it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Monica Bellucci is one of the most beautiful women on the face of the earth, too.
Yeah,
especially at that time this movie was made. And for her to get destroyed like that was just horrible.
Yeah,
absolutely horrible. I can cry about thinking about it right now. It's horrible. Anyway, I'm going to break into my top 5 sleepers. I have a couple of really whimsical movies and a couple of serious ones here. Number 5 is Garden State.
Zach
Braff film, the guy who made his money on Scrubs. He actually wrote, starred, and directed this particular film. Natalie Portman is the object of his affection here. It's a quirky little romance. It's a little cult film. I think Natalie shows her range here. She plays kind of an oddball character. Zach's coming home for I think it's his mother's funeral on a plane. And he's in the old neighborhood, Jersey, the Garden State. Just a real cute little movie. And I like Natalie Portman in this movie. I've never really watched Scrubs, so I didn't know Zach Braff before this. But he was effective in the role, and he wrote it and directed it as well. So he's got some talent. Number 4 is The Station Agent. This is a small little film about a little person played by Peter Dinklage, who is just seeking out peace and quiet in an abandoned abandoned train station, excuse me. And he marks the time that the trains go by. That's his whole job. He's in a little cubby hole there in a little station. And outside the station, he meets a man who has a food truck and a woman dealing with the death of her son. And the three of them have a little relationship. They become friends. Michelle Williams is in this movie as well, as I believe she's a librarian. Patricia Clarkson, who's an excellent actress, is the woman who's mourning the death of her son. And Bobby Cannavale is the man operating the food truck. And it's a slow moving film, but one that I've repeated over the years, and I really like it. It's kind of a just chill out kind of movie. And number 3 is called Breach. This is a movie about the true life story of Robert Hansen, an FBI agent who was convicted of spying for the Russians, played by Chris Cooper. Real solid. Ryan Phillippe is the man hired by the FBI to sort of bring him down, to infiltrate his life and figure out, we suspect him, but is he really doing what we think we're doing? Laura Linney is Ryan Phillippe's boss. Good cast, true story, and really well made. I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie, Breach, from 2007. My number 2 is a rare musical for me called Once, directed by John Carney. This is a real charming film. Irish, romantic. It's shot on the streets of Dublin. The street musician meets a girl selling flowers. They begin to strike up a friendship. They write songs together, go record a demo. It's just a beautifully, beautifully made film, heart-rendering, and 2 unknowns. And it turned into later, it was very successful for a small film. They turned it into a stage play and had a big soundtrack. It won the Oscar for Best Song. I recommend it. Real slow, but a winner. And my number 1 is one that Brian had on his list, 25th Hour, a great movie by Spike Lee. Can't say enough good things about it. It's my second favorite Spike Lee movie after Do the Right Thing. An absolute stellar cast. Ed Norton, pretty much in every scene. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Barry Pepper, Rosario Dawson, Anna Paquin as a young student of Philip Seymour Hoffman, who he's treading some dangerous ground on. He has the hots for her. She's like 16 years old, and he's this 35-year-old teacher, and he knows he shouldn't be flirting with her, and she's a little more aggressive than he is, actually, but that's another story. And like Brian said, it's his last 24 hours of freedom before he's got to go do a 7-year sentence for drug dealing. Somebody set him up, one of his boys. There's some troubling scenes in here. It was filmed the year after 9/11, so they're looking down a lot of times from these high-rise apartments or whatever, and you can see where the buildings used to stand, the Twin Towers, bombed to hell, and there's still ropes around them. People died there. Thousands of people died there. And they talk about it a little bit in the film. Brian Cox is the father. Him and Ed Norton have some scenes together that are very emotional as well, because he knows he may not see his son again. I think he's got some kind of disease, and that might be the last time he sees him. He's going away for 7 years. So real solid movie. Barry Pepper's good too, as the Wall Street stockbroker, I guess. He's got cash. He's sort of a cocky guy, opposite of Hoffman, who's sort of a disheveled kind of looking character. And they go out to celebrate at a bar that night to toast the Ed Norton character. Ed Norton's got these dogs that he wants somebody to take care of, and that's a whole other subplot. And just tremendous. Can't say enough good things about 25th Hour. And for whatever reason, it did not get the box office that it should have, considering Spike Lee's a really solid director and a named director, and a lot of his other films did well at the box office. But maybe it was the 9/11 thing, maybe it was the title of the movie. I don't know, but whatever reason, seek this baby out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It's an absolute must. Has all you guys seen it?
I have not seen it.
It's on my watch list.
It's on your watch list. And Doc, you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. No.
That's a good one, man. When you see it, let me know,
Yeah.
because that'll be like your No Way Out to Brian. You know,
Yeah.
we always have to bring that up.
Hey, I just feel I don't want to watch it because I feel like people are gonna die. I mean, I just watched Midnight Run, and then Charles, what's his name there, Grodin
Charles
died.
Grodin
Died, yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm not watching any more movies, man. Kevin Costner's gonna kick the bucket if I watch this movie.
All right, cool. So that takes care of our sleepers. We're going to be back with the wild card category. Well, this is anything goes, anything we missed in our previous categories. Most of these are really solid films, so we hope you join us for that. In the meantime, AYBL Maine, reactions to the classics, sub those channels up, Brian and Trey, respectively. Doc, I'm Rich. We'll be back, and we will see you on our next video. Thank you very much. Bye.